Well, hello there, you faithful few, and welcome back to DMS Adventures, where tents are to views what Trump is to news. That's just a neutral comment. I mean, the guy generates a lot of news, just like tents generate a lot of views. And that's why you're here, to check out the Mountainsmith Bear Creek 4 4-person tent. Well, this tent showed up in one of our recent videos, the 5 backpacking tents, which one is right for your family? And at the time of that recording, the Mountainsmith Bear Creek 4 was going for $150. Well, shortly thereafter, it went further on sale for $130. And I just couldn't pass that up. I had to get it and check it out to see how good of a backpacking tent it might be. So we're gonna find that out together, you faithful few. We're gonna show you what comes with the tent. We'll go over some of the specs, and then in true DMS Adventure tradition, we will be putting this up on camera for the first time. Then of course, we'll take you around and show you the bells and whistles. All right, well, let's see what we get in here. Right off the bat, I can tell you, it is heavy. More on that later. Drawstring stuff stack. There is a kind of handle down here at the end to pull everything out. Unroll this. Right here we got the rain fly. We got the stakes. Let's open that up and see what kind of stakes come with it. It feels like they're just the shepherd hook variety. And that is indeed what they are. Comes with 13 of them though, so they give you plenty. So here's the footprint that comes with this tent, and that is nice that they include it. This footprint also allows you to do a fast pitch with the tent and set it up with just the footprint, poles, and the rain fly. Here we got the tent poles. Those look like just your pretty standard shock cords, which normally I'm not a big fan of, but I'm willing to revisit them again. And then of course here we have the main body of the tent. All right, that's everything that comes with the tent. And now we will try and put this thing up. Now, it's been a long time since I have put up a shock corded tent before. So we'll see how this goes. Here we go, start the timer. All right, there it is, the basic pitch. See how long that took us? Longer than I care to admit, I'm sure. Well, you faithful few, what do you think of the time it took? I'm not sure. It felt like Took a little while, had issues with the rain fly, putting it on the right direction. Now, since this is a 4-person backpacking tent, typically you're gonna have some help with you to get this thing up, and that would certainly shave off about maybe a third of the time in getting this tent up. On first pitch, I'm not super happy with how taut I've gotten the rain fly. I presume just with a little more experience and practice, should be able to get that rain fly nice and taut away from the tent body in order to maximize the potential use of the actual rain fly. But speaking of having people help you put the rain fly on, let's talk weight. This is pretty heavy tent, coming in at 9 pounds 3 ounces. However, like I said, it is for 4 people and you can spread that weight around. So the tent body itself weighs 2 pounds 14 ounces. The rain fly weighs 2 pounds 11 ounces. The tent poles weigh 1 pound 10 ounces. The footprint weighs 1 pound 2 ounces, and then the stakes come in at 8.5 ounces. So you can spread that weight around, like I said. Also, there are probably some ways that you could reduce that weight, maybe with some more lightweight stakes, or bringing your own footprint. I know I could save probably 6 ounces right there. However, you don't have as perfectly a fitted footprint, and also you don't have the option to set it up in the fast pitch configuration. I do really like the grommet holes both in the corner of the footprint and the corner of the tent. You overlap them and then that pole just sticks right inside of both of them. Then I also love that the Rainfly has the clips on there. It just makes for a faster connection. However, it would be super helpful if they did color code them. That way you wouldn't get mixed up in the orientation of the fly like I did. All right, now let's go and take a closer look at the Mountainsmith Bear Creek 4. So let's start off at the door side of the tent, and it is a nice big door, but as you can see here, the wind is blowing towards the tent right here, and you can see it is really pushing in on the tent and thus reducing the effective square footage of your vestibule. So you do have some reflective line here for the guy out points, and you do have the 4 stakes that it would take to stake those all out. I like how here at the corner you can pull the Rainfly away from the tent body again. If we could just get a more taut pitch, we would be able to keep that all the way away from the tent body, which would be great for rain performance. And right here you can see they have the kickstand vents. Now these are super small vents here. I'm not sure how well that helps with condensation, but then again, this is a 2-wall tent. You have all that mesh on the inside. So if the condensation gets on the interior of the fly here, most of that should roll down and not fall into the tent. I do want to pause real quick and mention that Mountainsmith calls this a 2-season tent, which I think is very honest on their part. Just with the size of this thing, only the 2-pole structure, any hard winds or snow is gonna make this tent struggle to keep its form and shape. Although when they say 2 seasons, I'm not sure which 2 seasons they're referring to. Obviously not winter, summer's one of them, but then, I don't know, fall and spring, April showers, leaves falling on it in autumn. I'm not sure which is the better of the other 2 seasons. So this is the back side of the tent right here, and that is a pretty good sized vestibule sticking out. And although it does not have 2 doors, there is a reason why that vestibule sticks out so far, and we'll show you that when we get inside. Just coming around the tent here. Here's the vent on the other side. There's a storm flap over the zipper, so that's nice. So let's roll up the door here. This has just your standard loops and toggles, which I actually prefer. I think they're pretty easy. And there it is. This is a 2-hand zippered door, it would seem. Maybe if you get the pitch just right, you can get away with that. All right, so here we are. I'll show you around the inside. So right here up at the front, we do have some nice sized pockets running all the way across here. This is probably meant for 2 people on this side of the tent. And then on this side, you actually have 2 separate pockets. They're stitched down the middle. So you have 2 separate ones, whereas that one is one big long one. So there's no other storage lofts or anything like that. You do have a hook or a loop up here to hang a light from or something to that effect. I'll be watching the seams along this vent very closely. I'm a little bit suspicious of that. The floor material here does seem about as thin as the Trekker 3. Still pretty decent, especially with that footprint underneath. We have one long seam running the width of the tent. I'd say the bathtub floor is pretty decent with how high it comes up, especially given that the rainfly comes down so far. I think you could potentially have an issue with splattering in that corner. The tub is pretty low down there and the rainfly doesn't come all the way down. And then here's just an extra little feature that they throw in this tent that I think is pretty cool, especially since you only have one door. They got another zippered opening here in the back of the tent in order to store some gear out in that extra vestibule area that I mentioned when we were on the outside. You can open it with one hand. And out you go. So what do you faithful few think? Useful? Gimmicky? I kind of like it. But can you close it with one hand? One thing I think I'm gonna like over the Trekker 3 is there is no center pole running right up the middle of our tent. Now, it's never caused us any problem really in the Trekker 3, but it always kind of makes me nervous when we're sleeping there. If you run into the pole, everything comes down. So this isn't huge as far as vestibules go, especially given the sharp pitch of the walls here coming up to the door. There's not a whole lot of space right there. That being said, I think it is sufficient. I kind of like how it's off center a little bit, and I think you would have room to cook. You would just need to be super careful. But you're always supposed to be careful. So even though this entire body for the most part is mesh, I'm starting to get pretty hot in here. It's about 84 degrees out, and I know it's windy outside, and I'm really not feeling much of an airflow in here. With as low as the rainfly comes and as small as those vents are in the ceiling, just not getting a whole lot of impressive airflow in here. Well, let's wrap it up by going over some specs of the Mountainsmith Bear Creek 4-person tent. Price can range anywhere from $130 where I got it all the way up to $200. The main dimensions on the tent are 112 inches wide by 92 inches deep by 56 inches tall, which results in a square foot area of 70 square feet. Now, don't forget the 12 extra square feet you get on that front vestibule, and they don't give a number for the area that you can use out in that back vestibule, but it is helpful. The packed size is 8 inches in diameter by 19 inches long, which isn't super small, kind of puts it in the middle of the pack of 4-person backpacking tents. The Rainfly has a hydrostatic head rating of 2,000 millimeters, and the floor material has a hydrostatic head rating of 5,000 millimeters. Then finally, the weight comes in at about 9 pounds, but as I mentioned earlier, you can spread that weight out among the 4 people that will be sleeping in it. For me, when I'm out with the Rugged Mountain siblings, I'll probably carry the tent body and the fly, which puts me a little over 5 pounds. And then gives the footprint and the stakes to Rugged Mountain Mister and probably the poles to Rugged Mountain Sister. Then as I see it, that gets us 3 things that the Trekker 3 doesn't give us. An extra 5 square feet of living space on the inside, no pole right in the middle, and then that extra little bit of storage space out the back vestibule. And then a 4th thing, because I don't want to go back and redo the previous 3, is that this is more or less a freestanding tent, whereas the Trekker 3 is a trekking pole tent. And that just helps you out when you get yourself into a scenario where it's kind of hard to get stakes into the ground. Well, you faithful few, after wrapping up the video on the Bear Creek 4 backpacking tent, we had a fantastic rainstorm come through. And so we got a super quick test on the waterproofness of the tent, and we will see if that 2,000 millimeter hydrostatic head rating on the Rainfly did its job. First up though, I did come out and set the guy lines because it was getting rather windy, but everything stayed just fine. Tent looks good. Let's go on in and take a look. Sure feels hot in there. Here we go, let's head inside. See if we can find any water. Fantastic. There are not even any drips or anything on any of the mesh anywhere. Now that was a pretty significant rainstorm. The raindrops were super large, there was a lot of it. And yeah, everything looks good in here. Completely dry. Fantastic. And also, as I'm adding this after I've already edited the tent video, I can say I did not stress enough the budget option that this tent is. All of this at $130. Again, found it on sale, but typically, like right now, it's going for $164. So it is just a great value for a tent that actually keeps you dry without spraying it or sealing the seams. So in conclusion, I would feel safe taking the family out in the Mountainsmith Bear Creek 4-person backpacking tent. Even if the extra weight tires us out too much, we do have a nice, large, safe, and dry shelter to stay in once we get to camp. All right, you faithful few, there it is, the Mountainsmith Bear Creek 4-person tent. Let me know what you think of this tent down in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions about it. I can try and answer those for you. I want to thank you so much for watching, and you all have a great day.